Hey there, and welcome back to The Deep Dive. Today we're diving headfirst into a question that causes so much stress, I think, for English learners. Do you really need grammar to speak fluent English? I know this feeling. If you ever found yourself thinking, I want to speak, but I don't want to make a grammar mistake, or maybe I'm scared they won't understand me if my grammar's wrong, or even, okay, I'll speak later when I've learned more grammar. If that sounds like you, then you are exactly who this deep dive is for. That internal voice, that fear, it's just such a huge barrier for so many people. So our mission today is really to challenge that mindset. We're going to try and unpack what fluency actually means, explore the real practical role grammar plays in speaking, explain why maybe overthinking grammar can slow you down, and most importantly, give you some concrete, actionable ways to, train yourself to speak more naturally, even if you still make mistakes. Get ready for, hopefully, an honest, practical, and inspiring conversation. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just lay it all out there.
The biggest misunderstanding maybe in language learning has to be this idea. To be fluent, you must speak perfect English. Zero grammar mistakes. That's a huge misconception, isn't it?
It absolutely is, yeah. The crucial shift, I think, is realizing fluency doesn't mean perfection at all. Fluency means flow. Think of it like a river.
Yeah.
It moves pretty fast, it's got energy, and crucially, it doesn't stop every 3 seconds to check if it's going the right way. It just moves, it flows.
It just keeps going.
Exactly. So when we talk about fluent speaking, we're really talking about being able to express your thoughts, in real time, keeping a conversation going without agonizing over every single word choice, reacting naturally, and just being understood. The core is that your message gets across. Clearly.
That makes so much sense. I mean, just think about a child learning to speak their first language. They don't say everything perfectly, right? Not even close sometimes. But they speak with such confidence, such energy and rhythm.
Yeah.
And people understand them. It's like we forget that simple truth when we become adult learners somehow.
It's a critical distinction. If you compare, say, a non-native speaker who makes a few grammar mistakes but speaks naturally, confidently, their English often sounds, better, more fluid, more engaging.
Yeah.
Now, contrast that with someone who maybe knows all the grammar rules, like inside out, but hesitates constantly, pauses, self-corrects mid-sentence. That doesn't actually sound fluent, does it? Even if it's technically more correct.
No, it sounds painful sometimes.
Right. So fluency is really about that rhythm, that flow, confidence, and just building a connection. It's not about showing off your grammar knowledge.
Okay, but I want to be super clear here. We're not saying grammar doesn't matter at all. It does play a role, but its role needs to be properly understood, maybe. It's not the enemy.
That's a great point to emphasize. Absolutely. A helpful way to think about grammar's role is maybe like the invisible wiring of a house.
Okay.
Or even a GPS. You don't always consciously see it, but it's there. It provides direction, clarity, order. It helps your message make sense, helps your sentences kind of hold together. Grammar is what clarifies things like, okay, who did what to whom? When did things happen? Is this a question or a statement? Is something certain? Or is it just, a possibility?
And without that structure, your message can definitely get muddled. Confusing. Like if I said, he go yesterday movie, you might figure it out eventually, but it's clunky, right?
Takes effort.
Compare that to he went to the movies yesterday, much clearer. Or I go shop yesterday versus I went to the shop yesterday and he works hospital versus he works at a hospital. That grammar does its job, makes it instantly clear.
Precisely. Grammar enhances clarity, but, and this is key, you can often still be understood even with imperfect grammar. You really don't need to know every single rule to speak effectively. Context does a lot of the heavy lifting.
So, okay, this is the really good news then for you listening. You absolutely do not need to master all the grammar rules for fluency. You just need the most essential ones. And honestly, that can feel like a huge weight lifted off your shoulders.
Yeah, definitely. This is where the 80-20 rule, that principle, becomes incredibly relevant. A small percentage of grammar, let's say roughly 20%, is going to give you the vast majority of your results, maybe 80%, in everyday conversations. The trick is focusing on the high-frequency stuff, the things you'll actually use day in, day out.
Okay, so what are these magic essentials then?
All right, let's break them down. There are about 8 key areas. First, present simple. This is your bread and butter for facts, routines, truths. I live in London, she works in tech, you use it constantly.
Right, basic facts.
Second, present continuous. This gives your speech that live, dynamic feeling. Actions happening now or around now. I'm learning English. They're watching TV.
What's happening right now? Got it.
Third, past simple. Crucial. Absolutely fundamental for telling stories, sharing experiences. I went out last night. He studied yesterday. Can't really chat without it.
Yeah, sharing news.
Fourth, future forms. You need to talk about plans, promises, predictions. I'll call you later. We're going to travel next week. Essential for looking ahead.
Makes sense.
Fifth, modal verbs. These are little powerhouses. Can, should, might, could. They add meaning, tone, possibility. Can I help you? Hey, you should try this. I might go. Really adds richness.
Yeah, those are useful.
6, first and second conditionals. Okay, these might sound a bit more grammar-y, but they make speech sound much more natural, more intelligent. If I study, I'll pass. If I were you, I'd take the job. They handle what-if scenarios.
Okay, those hypothetical situations.
7th, question forms. Obvious, maybe, but vital. Without these, how do you even have a conversation? Where are you from? What do you do? Have you seen that movie? Your entry point to dialogue.
Absolutely essential.
And finally, number 8, prepositions, articles, and pronouns. Things like in, on, at, a, the, he, she, it. Yes, they can be tricky, we know that. But you don't need them to be perfect. Just, good enough to be understood, enough to avoid major confusion. Their main job is clarity.
So it's not about perfection with those fiddly bits, just clarity.
Exactly. If you can use just these 8 tools with reasonable confidence, you'll be able to have really effective conversations. These are the workhorses. No one's using complex passive voice when they're just ordering a coffee, right?
Right. Or debating third conditional at the gym.
Precisely. So focus on the grammar that helps you connect and communicate day to day, not the obscure stuff, unless maybe you're prepping for a specific test.
Okay, this next point might feel a little surprising. And it's something I see learners really beat themselves up over constantly. Native speakers make grammar mistakes, like every single day in casual speech.
Oh, absolutely. All the time. You'll often hear things like, me and John went to the store. Technically, it should be John and I.
Yeah, I hear that one a lot.
Or he don't know anything instead of he doesn't know anything. Another super common one is there's lots of people here. Should be. There are lots of people. But these aren't seen as signs of lacking fluency for native speakers. They're often just, performance slips, maybe efficiency choices, or just common ways of talking.
Which really raises a big question, doesn't it? If native speakers make these kinds of mistakes, why do learners feel so much shame or anxiety about their mistakes? It feels like a bit of a double standard.
It really is. And I think it comes back to how language is often taught. In classrooms, grammar frequently feels like a test, a hurdle you have to clear perfectly. But real-life conversation, it's not a grammar quiz. It's about communication, connection. Real spoken English is fast, it's flexible, it's packed with idioms, phrasal verbs, and sometimes it's gloriously messy. It just is.
So the goal shouldn't be grammatically perfect English. Maybe the new, more liberating goal should be to speak natural English. That feels like a huge mindset shift right there. Okay, so for many of us, learning grammar meant, memorizing rules, doing gap fill exercises, taking tests. And as we've said, often that just doesn't translate well into actually speaking fluently. It feels like our brain is in a different mode or something. So what does this all mean for how you should actually learn and practice grammar effectively for speaking?
Right. It means we probably need to shift focus away from just explicit learning of rules towards more implicit absorption, learning it by using it. And there are some really powerful practical strategies to do this, to absorb grammar more naturally and genuinely improve your fluency, making it feel automatic, not like doing math in your head.
Okay, let's hear them.
First, learn through examples, not rules. Or maybe learn in context. Instead of memorizing past simple verb plus ed, learn it in full, real sentences. Like, I walked to work yesterday. She called me last night. We watched a movie. Hear it, see it, use it in context. When you learn whole phrases and sentences, your brain starts to pick up the patterns naturally. A bit like how children learn, through repetition of patterns they hear.
Right, pattern recognition, not rule memorization.
Exactly. It bypasses that conscious computing of every sentence. Second, the shadowing technique. This is incredibly effective. You actively listen to native speakers' podcasts are great for this, or TV shows, and you immediately repeat exactly what they say. Mimic their rhythm, their intonation.
Just copy them out loud.
Yeah. It's not just about pronunciation, though that improves too. It actually builds your natural grammar instincts, helps with rhythm, and it boosts your confidence massively because you're actively producing fluent-sounding patterns.
Okay, interesting. What's next?
Third, speak first. Correct later. This is vital for building that flow we talked about. Prioritize just getting the words out without stopping. Don't freeze mid-sentence trying to fix a tiny grammar point. Just keep going. Maintain the momentum.
Get the thought out.
Get the thought out. You can always review later, maybe record yourself or ask a friend or tutor for feedback after the conversation. But in the moment, flow first.
Makes sense. Avoid that stop-start cycle.
Fourth, use authentic materials. This means, watch TV shows you like, listen to podcasts, read stories or articles that genuinely interest you. You'll see and hear grammar used in its true, natural habitat, organically. It's far more effective for internalizing how English really works than just doing isolated grammar exercises.
Immerse yourself in real English.
Precisely. And fifth, and this is probably the most important one, speak every day. Have real conversations whenever possible. Even just 5 minutes daily makes a difference. Talk to yourself in English. Record your voice talking about your day. Join a conversation group online or locally. This consistent practice helps grammar move from being something you know in your head to something you just do automatically. It becomes muscle memory.
That daily practice sounds key. I can relate so much to that idea of just getting the words out, the speak first idea. I remember when I was learning Spanish, I was so terrified of making a mistake that I often just stayed silent, didn't speak. And it was exactly that shift from worrying about being perfect to just trying to communicate that finally unlocked things for me. So let me tell you this directly. If you're making mistakes, it actually means you're trying. It's a good sign. And if you're trying, it means you're learning. And if you're learning, you are absolutely undeniably on the road to fluency. Don't forget that.
That's so true. Fluency isn't something you achieve by waiting until you're perfect. It's never going to happen that way. It's built by actively speaking, by trying, by, sometimes falling short or making mistakes, by learning from it and then trying again tomorrow. It's about showing up consistently. And honestly, if you're speaking and people generally understand you, even with some grammar mistakes, you are doing an amazing job. Be genuinely proud of that progress because that's what real communication actually looks like.
Yeah, connection over perfection.
Exactly. I want to share a quick story, if that's okay, about Fatima, one of my students from Egypt.
Please do.
For a long time, she was absolutely terrified of speaking, just frozen by fear, even though she studied grammar really diligently, like every single day. So we changed her routine completely. We focused on just 5 minutes of shadowing each day, 5 minutes of self-talk, literally just her talking to herself in English about anything, and then joining a conversation practice for maybe 10 minutes, just twice a week. That was it.
Okay, very focused, short burst.
Yeah, consistent, active practice. And after just 3 months of doing this, she actually gave a short presentation in English to her colleagues. Was her grammar perfect? Honestly, no, it wasn't. But she was understood clearly, she sounded confident, and she was incredibly proud of herself for doing it.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It really highlights how fluency is built. It's through that active repetition, that real connection, not just stacking up theoretical knowledge of rules.
That's a great story. Really powerful. Okay, so let's bring it all back home then. Let's really answer that core question we started with. Is grammar necessary to speak fluent English?
Wow.
The answer, as we've kind of unpacked here,
Yeah.
it's nuanced, isn't it? It's not a simple yes or no.
Right. It's more like, yes, but only the grammar that actually serves your communication, the useful stuff.
Yes, but not to the point where worrying about it blocks your confidence and just paralyzes your speech.
Exactly. And yes, but only thinking of it as a tool, a helpful framework, not as some insurmountable barrier that stops you from even starting.
So it really feels like it's time to shift your focus. If you're listening, shift away from chasing this impossible idea of perfection. Embrace clear communication instead. Shift from prioritizing absolute correctness to building genuine confidence.
Because your fluency, fundamentally, it's about making that human connection. That's the real goal.
So our call to action for you today is pretty simple, really. Start speaking today, even with the mistakes you know you'll make.
Yeah, don't wait.
Focus on those high-frequency grammar points we talked about, that 80-20, the essentials. Make sure you prioritize practicing speaking more than you study isolated rules in a book. Get the reps in.
Active practice over passive study.
And immerse yourself in real English through authentic materials, shows, podcasts, reading to help you absorb it naturally, like we discussed. And please remember, you are probably doing much better than you think you are. Every single mistake you make. It's tangible, undeniable proof of your effort and your progress.
Absolutely. Be kind to yourself. Keep going. And maybe leave you with this thought. Your voice matters, your message, what you want to share, that matters. And fluency. It's really not about sounding perfect. It's about showing up every day with the courage to connect. So keep learning, keep speaking, and never, ever stop growing.